Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick update on my experience with the Asus Transformer Pad TF701 mobile dock. So at $139.99, this is far more than just a keyboard dock accessory. Of course, it does convert the TF701 into a clamshell productivity machine, but it does so because it also has an internal battery that will extend the battery life of the TF701 by up to 4 hours. You also get a full-size SD card slot as well as a full-size USB 3.0 port. The USB 3.0 port is the big enhancement for the keyboard dock, as well as the redesign of the keyboard, slightly tweaked, improved upon, and in my opinion, more usable than the previous generation, or I should say, more pleasant to use. With that out of the way, let me go ahead and bring up a web browser. You can see the mouse, the pointer, is relatively responsive, although I found the multi-touch gestures to be a little finicky sometimes, but again, you have to take into account that for $140, this really does add a whole new life or identity to the Transformer, and that's why, after all, Asus has dubbed this a Transformer, and the entire line has always been about this ability to take what is traditionally just a tablet experience and blur the line, and that's what the extra ports and battery life from this keyboard dock, really mobile dock, bring to the table for $140. In terms of typing, I mentioned it's relatively solid, and I do find that it's relatively comfortable. It's just a matter of getting accustomed to it. And even though, as I mentioned before, you have the ability to use gestures for scrolling, it's definitely more intuitive, in my opinion, to just go ahead and use the screen. After all, that is what you purchased, a tablet, at its heart from the very beginning, even if the appeal with the Transformer for you is that at $450 plus the $140 for the keyboard, you are still getting not only one of the best performing tablets on the market, but also most versatile, and still at a price point that's less than many competitors, such as the Fruit. That's where this tablet really does shine. The touchpad isn't my favorite. It's certainly better than the one that Asus uses on the much less expensive Windows 8.1 experience, the T100, but it still leaves a lot to be desired. Whether or not this can be addressed in firmware, I'm not really sure. But otherwise, the actual keyboard itself is a gem, in my opinion, compared to previous generations. And that's not to say that the previous gens were bad. It's just a more polished and refined keyboard, which is what Asus promised us in this brand new mobile dock at $140. So as you can see, we've got control of Wi-Fi right here, Bluetooth, again, Bluetooth 3.0 on board. You can turn off the touchpad. We have brightness controls, auto brightness settings, can bring up the camera, internet, your settings for the actual tablet itself. We can jump home, search. I mean, all of the Android buttons that you would expect are here. You're not missing anything, and that's what's really nice about this keyboard dock. Volume controls, you can mute the device, video playback options, locking it. It just works well. And as I said before, the actual typing experience, it really does, in my opinion, do as good a job as any offering of this nature. I haven't seen any erratic behavior or instances of the keyboard not responding. Again, the touchpad is the only thing that if I had to actually really complain about anything, I would say that's something that can definitely be improved upon. And that's also a valid criticism because Asus has been at it with the Transformer line for a while. But one of the great things once you've got the keyboard dock hooked up is that, of course, you can hook up something like a full-size Xbox 360 controller that's USB based and play games, something that you would need an on-the-go cable or, with the tablet itself, or excuse me, not an on-the-go cable. You can't. There is no micro USB. Again, proprietary charging here. So you really do need the keyboard dock to fully transform this device as its name implies. And that's where it's not just even about the battery life and the SD card slot, but that full-size USB port is really where this tablet has something with the keyboard beyond impeccable battery life, which, by the way, the 14 hours, they are relatively close in that estimate, which does really blow away everything else out there. The 2560 by 1600 resolution IPS display is best in class, and I'm impressed with the overall build quality of this entire experience. But the message here really to take away from this is that if you're wondering about whether or not you should be picking up the keyboard dock, you shouldn't be wondering, because that is, after all, what the Transformer experience is all about. And when the tablet is docked, the way it extends the battery life is also important. It doesn't just simultaneously power it. What it literally does is power the battery that's on board the tablet. This way, when you finally do undock the TF701 and go out of productivity mode, that's when you're going to notice that your battery life is still going to be as good or still have as high a percentage as you could possibly desire, because that 4 hours of battery life that's built into the keyboard is going to go straight towards driving your experience. Of course, once the keyboard internal battery is dead, then the tablet battery itself will power the entire experience. So if this battery is dead inside the keyboard, it'll still function like previous generations of the Transformer lineup. But these are some of those important things to know about the way or the relationship between the TF701 and its mobile dock. So personally, I like the fact that it always makes sure that the tablet is topped off. That's how previous generations worked as well. I haven't noticed any bugs so far, so things have looked pretty good, at least in my initial tests. And again, it's all about the usability of this keyboard, which I think is fairly solid. If you have large hands, anything in a 10.1 inch class is going to be difficult to work with. Much like if your vision isn't very strong, a 10.1 inch tablet is far from ideal as well. So it's a matter of usability. Like I said, I personally am always going to be prone to use the touchscreen to scroll, but for those of you who demand having a touchpad, you've got it. But with that USB port, you also have the ability to hook up, a USB 3.0 hub, and sky is the limit in terms of what you're going to do with accessories, whether we're talking about a mouse, hard drive, jump drive, whatever you think of, as long as it's USB compatible, you can pretty much use it here with the mobile dock, because Asus has made sure to get the drivers on board. This is something they've been doing for many years. It's part of the reason that they are one of the most successful tablet makers in the Android sector. But with that said, really like this device a lot. The keyboard dock really does change the entire experience. Highly recommended. If you're on the fence, get off of it, because it's all about the Transformer experience if you're buying into this latest Transformer tablet. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.